our best answering all of them. Okay. Um, so my name is Carolina, as Flavia said, and I am the National Accommodations Manager for ILSC Education Group in Canada. And today we're going to talk about the new travel restrictions that is a new thing from the government of Canada.
Okay. Carol, if you can put your microphone a little bit higher. I'm
Sure.
getting questions that, yeah.
Can
Are
you
you
guys
every,
hear me now?
yeah.
Is it better now?
Is it better? Okay. Oh,
Yes.
perfect. Thank you
Okay.
so much. So for those who are joining us right now, my name is Flavia Guiar. I'm the sales manager for Brazil. I work at LSC Education Group. And today is the first series of our webinar, our LSC Talks. And Carolina from our accommodation department in Canada is here to talk about the new travel restrictions in Canada. So we're going to share our screen with you guys so we can lead the presentation, okay? And as Carolina said, please, every questions you have, please address to me through the chat. And by the end of the presentation, we are going to be addressing the questions, okay?
Exactly.
Okay, so let's talk about Canada. So most of you know that Canada government has provided a safe corridor for international students to travel abroad for all over the world and join us in Canada since October 20, right, Carol? But
Exactly.
however, there are a few rules and protocols that we need to follow. So let's talk about them. What are
Exactly.
the requirements, Carol, please?
Sure. So a quick timeline here. So since October last year, the government of Canada requires that all international travelers, including international students, complete a 14 or 16-day quarantine. Okay. So back in January, all travelers they had to present a negative COVID-19 test 72 hours before their flights. And then now the new thing that we will talk about today. So on February this year, Fly, if you don't mind, go to the next one, please. On February this year, the government implemented the new travel restrictions that includes the 3 nights at the government approved hotel and an additional COVID-19 test. So you are gonna see on the next slide that we have here to share with you a very good infographics that the government of Canada provided to us explaining all the steps that the students need to do before and then after they come to Canada. So I'm just going to go over quick so you have a better idea what to expect, okay? So can you hear me very well, guys? I see that there's a message saying that it's very low. Just let me know, okay? Please. Think it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, perfect. Amazing. Thank you very much, everyone. So I'm gonna go to read this quick infographics and explain to you. So I think it's very clear and easy to understand the process that the students need to go through. So first thing now, they need to plan for their quarantine. After they have the plan, after they decided if they are going to come to ILSC, Vancouver, Toronto, and Montreal, they need to book the 3 night at the government approved hotel. We call this GAA, just so you know, government approved accommodation. This hotel must be booked at the port of entry. So, and as an example, if the student is coming to ILSC Vancouver, however, the flight lands in Toronto first, and then the student will come to Vancouver after. So the student must book the 3 night at the government hotel in Toronto. So the port of entry. Then the student will spend 3 nights there and fly to Vancouver after. Okay? So coming back here, so after the student booked the 3 night government approved hotel, 72 hours prior to the flight, the student will have to do a PCR COVID-19 test. And then with the negative results, if the student tests negative, please download the ArriveCan app and put all the details for the quarantine. And then the student will fly wearing masks, hand sanitizer, all the protocols. And then when arriving in Canada, the student will pass through immigration, go through customs, and at the airport, the student will do another PCR test. So the student will collect the PCR, take the transportation, go to the government hotel, and wait at the hotel for 3 nights until the student receives the negative COVID 19 test. After the student received the negative test, the student can go finish their quarantine at the ILSC accommodation, either partner hotel or homestay accommodation. Okay? There's a new thing as well at the airport. After they do the PCR test, the student will receive a COVID 19 kit test. It's a self test. So when the student is completing their quarantine at the ILSC homestay or ILSC partner hotel, on the 10th day of the quarantine, the student will have to follow the instructions that are the instructions are on the test on the test kit. The student will have to call a line, okay, and talk to a nurse and collect the PCR test on the 10th day of quarantine. It comes with a bag in a prepaid label. So the student will put the test inside the bag, and the homestay family or the hotel staff will help with the shipping of this COVID 19 test. This is happening on the 10th day. And then after a few days, usually 3 or 4, the student will receive another negative COVID 19 test. Okay? After the student receive the COVID 19 test, if it's before the end of the quarantine, the student must remain in quarantine until the end, and then everything is clear. Okay? So the student has 3 negative COVID 19 tests. However, for students coming to Toronto, ILSC Toronto, this new thing that I'm going to say is just valid for ILSC Toronto. The provincial government, the Ontario government, also requires that the student tests again after the 14th night. So on the 15th day of quarantine, when the student ends quarantine by the federal government, the student needs to test again for COVID 19. ILSC also helps with this test. We book a private transportation. We pick up the student at the accommodation, drive to the clinic, and bring back the student to the accommodation. In Toronto, until the student receives the fourth negative COVID 19 test, the student must remain in isolation. That's the reason that we call 14 or 16 nights of quarantine. Okay? And then in all the cities, the student must do the 3 nights at the government approved hotel. So Toronto, 3 nights plus 13. And Vancouver and Montreal, 3 nights plus 11. Okay?
Thank you, Carol, for providing such an information. And as you know, it's not really so simple to do your quarantine, right? There is a few protocols. You cannot leave the room. This is important. Sometimes we get questions, for example, I have family relatives in Canada. Can I do my quarantine there? Or can I book Airbnb? And I would like to invite Carol to talk about this information because this also involves students' responsibilities regarding your self-isolation.
Exactly. So, students that are coming to ILSC, they have to choose the ILSC quarantine accommodation that they wanted to stay. So, either homestay or partner hotels. Okay. It is the student responsibility to organize the pre-departure COVID-19 PCR test, the one that needs to be done 72 hours before the flight. The student needs to download the ArriveCan app and complete and submit all the necessary information. Also, it is the student responsibility to do the daily follow up with ArriveCan, okay? And of course, the student needs to follow all the requirements during quarantine. As Flavia was mentioning, the students coming to ILSC, they have the option to stay in one of our accommodations, or they can also use a third party authorized accommodation provider. Okay? Students cannot do their own plans and they cannot stay with relatives at this first period here of quarantine.
Yeah, and this is important because, as you know, only a very small list of schools have the approval to welcome students already in Canada. And ILSC and Grayson College in all our locations have received the approval for the provincial governments to welcome our students. And by this fact, we are responsible by the government of Canada that our students will fulfill and run all the responsibilities and all the requirements they need for their self-isolation. And this is always to make sure that we do not expose the others and ourselves to any harm. Okay, so you cannot leave your room. Even if you're staying in a hotel, it's important for you to know that you cannot use the facilities of the hotel. You need to stay in your room. We're going to tell about what exactly does our package includes and what are your responsibilities. So it's really important to understand that. And also the government are doing some surprise visits to see if the students are actually doing the quarantine properly, if they're honoring the address that ILSC has provided. And also at the port of arrival, the immigration checks with schools every Monday the list of the students that have arrived in Canada and the list that ILSC has provided to the government regarding how many students have arrived in this specific weekend. So every week we need to provide a list to the government. And this is very important because every student that are going to LSE or Grayson College, we need to know they are traveling. We need to be able to organize their quarantine package either through our own package or a third party provider, as Carolina mentioned, okay?
Exactly. It's very important that we know that they are coming so we can provide the correct report to the government. Okay. And then moving a little bit on how ILSC can support you and your students. So ILSC is more than happy to book the government approved accommodation on behalf of the student. It is very important to understand that we follow the same rules as when the students are booking by themselves. So if the student decided to cancel or if something happens, this booking is non-refundable, but we are more than happy to book on behalf of the student. Okay. We also do a follow-up with all the students every day just to make sure that they are okay and they are following all the rules, as Flavia mentioned, making sure that they are inside the bedrooms. We also make sure with the homestay families that they are providing 3 meals per day. And students' mental health, that it's something very important for us. We wanted to make sure that the student is doing well, not only physically, but mentally as well during quarantine. Okay. And then also, in our packages, we provide many services that they are all included in our package prices. Okay, so if you don't mind, go on the next one, please. So ILSC. Sorry, let's go before. So the government approved accommodation package. When the student books the government packages, it is on the price that the student pays, it is included the accommodation for sure, 3 meals per day, hotel security, transportation from the airport to the hotel, and the two COVID-19 tests. The one that the student will do at the airport and the other one on the 10th day of accommodation. This is included on the government approved accommodation packages. It is important to mention that ILSC does not control the prices for the government packages, okay? So this is based on the hotel price according the accord sorry it's between the government and the hotel. ILSC follows the prices that the hotel provide us, okay? And then on the sorry, Fla, do you want to say something?
Yes, sorry. I just wanted to add that ILSC is one of the very few or the only school that is actually doing this reservation service for on behalf of our students, because many schools, they are asking the students to organize themselves this GAA accommodation, the government accommodation. And ILSC, as Carol said, is more than welcome to do this on behalf of the students. But as she said, this is due with the policies and arrangements between the Canadian government and the hotels they are providing policies. So we cannot control those procedures, okay?
Exactly. So, and now talking about the package, the quarantine packages that ILSC offers. So, in all our packages, it is included the accommodations in homestay or hotel, 3 meals per day, every day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We provide two transportations. Transportation from the government approved accommodation to the ILSC quarantine accommodation. And we also provide a second transportation that it is from the ILSC quarantine accommodation to the permanent accommodation. So where they shouldn't leave after quarantine. Okay? We also provide a valid SIM card for 30 days. So this SIM card, it starts on the day that the student arrives at the ILSC quarantine accommodation. So the student has this valid for 30 days. It's not mandatory that they shouldn't extend this. So if they shouldn't want to use for 30 days only and cancels after, there's no problem at all. The cancellation will be automatically, so it's not going to be an extra step for the student, okay? We also provide daily follow-ups, as I mentioned to you before, and of course 2 weeks of free online English classes. And this is very important to make sure that the student's mental health is doing really well during the 14 days or 16 days of quarantine. Okay.
And it's also important, just to, before we start addressing the questions, it's also important to know that ILSC quarantine package is complete. We provide all service that your student needs in order they can fulfill your self-isolation. Besides the 2 weeks of free online English classes, ILSC has organized a series of online activities to keep your mental health balanced, right? Because since you cannot leave your room, you need to keep yourself occupied. So we have chit chat clubs, we have music clubs, we have Zumba classes, cooking classes, photography classes. So a lot of online workshops, guest speakers, presentations to keep you busy, and so you can go smoothly through your process and then be able to complete your quarantine in a healthy way, positive way, and then move to your in-class studies. Carol, is there anything else you want to address before we start hearing the questions?
Yes, I have something to add about minors, but I read a question about minors, and I'm gonna jump to this information because it's very, very important. So minors that are coming alone, so they are not coming with parents or anyone that is responsible for them. They have to come alone. They are exempt for the 3 nights government approved hotel. They can go directly to their homestay quarantine accommodation. This is valid only for minors, okay? Any adults, they must book the 3 night government hotel. So, and it's a very tricky part of Canada. Minors in Toronto and Montreal are 18 and under. And minors in Vancouver, BC, it's 19 and under. So another tricky part, if the student is coming to study in Vancouver, but the port of entry is Toronto, we have to check that age, the age from the port of entry. So if the student is 18 years old, coming to Vancouver, but the port of entry is Toronto, the student needs to complete the 3 night at the government approved accommodation. Okay? It's we have to check the port of entry age and not the final destination.
Perfect. Okay, so we have a lot of important questions. Thank you all for sharing your questions with us. So let's start. Okay. How long this restriction will last?
Very good question, Jose Fernando. So we don't have a final answer because, again, this is a government decision. What we can say is we are 100% of the time following up, and we are also in contact with the government approved hotels to check the news that they have as well. From this morning, I have talked to a few of them, and they are already revising prices for May and June. So they are revising the prices. It does not mean that will be extended or not. We are just can say for sure that it is extended when the government extended the measure. Okay. So far, our prices and the hotel prices are valid until April 30th, 2021. However, again, they are revising prices already.
That's true. And it's important for you to know that ILSC Greystone College, for all our Canada locations, we are in close contact with the Canadian government and all the protocols, the safety protocols to always seek for the best and benefits of our students and security. So we have pretty much daily contact with them. Every update, every important news, they are also addressed through our team, through Carolina and all our peers within ILSC, in order we can both share this information in our social media to our partner agents and to our through our official channels as well. So please rest assured that we're always in contact with them, working close with them, so we can do everything for the benefits and the safety of our students. Okay. We have another question here from Carolina. Could you please repeat once again the days that the student has to take the COVID test? And this is important because there's also a tricky part here, right, Carol?
Yes.
The first PCR test.
So the first PCR test is 72 hours before the flight. Please, this is really important. It's 72 hours before the time of the departure flight. So we've heard cases of students with like 73 and 74 hours before the flight, and they were not allowed to board. So it's 72 hours before the flight, okay? This is the first test. The second test, Carolina, it is when the student arrive in Canada at the airport. The third test for Vancouver, Toronto, and Montreal, it is on the 10th day of the quarantine. And then for ILSC Toronto or for Toronto, the province, Ontario, they have another COVID-19 test on the 15th day. So last day of quarantine. After the 14th night of quarantine, it is the fourth test for the student. This fourth test, as I mentioned, ILSC is also scheduling for the student, and this is the only thing that it's not included in our package. This price is separate for students. Okay.
Okay, and the third test, just to refresh here, is through that kit that the students receive at the port of entry, right, Carol?
Exactly. It's a self-test kit. Okay. The student will call a number, will get all the instructions, they will do the self-test, and then this test will be mailed to the clinic.
Okay, thank you so much. We have another question here. If I can go to ILSC in Toronto with the tourist visa. So as you know, the safe corridor that the government has provided and approved to a few DLI institutions that are approved with their quarantine package, and we are, it says that only students with a study permit approved can enter Canada. So as of for now, Canada is not accepting any visitor with the tourist visa or the travel authorization, okay, the ETA. So it is important for you to know that when you apply for your visa, please make sure you are applying for a study permit. And another information that the Language Canada and the government of Canada has been announced is that even for short-term students, they can apply for a study permit. So please, for more information regarding visas and applications, please address to some visa or immigration company. We have a partnership with Incubate company. So if you want, please connect with us and we are more than welcome to share their contact with you. But it's important to know that only students with a study permit approved, it is allowed to enter Canada as of for now, okay? Another question from Carolina. What happens if the student is positive in any stage of the COVID test?
Good question as well, Carolina. So, of course, if the student tests positive 72 hours before coming to Canada, the student will not be able to come to Canada. So, we will have to postpone the accommodations and the studies in ILSC as well. If the student tests positive on the second test, that is the test, the student will take it at the airport because the student will be at the government approved accommodation. You will see on the infographics, we will also share the link with you so you can also share with the students if you feel that it's suitable for you. Okay. So if the student is at the government approved hotel and the results comes as positive, the student needs to remain inside the room as always, and the public health authority will contact the student with the next steps. Okay, so basically the student will not be allowed to go to the ILSC quarantine accommodation. The students will have to follow all the steps that the public health authority will tell them to do it if they tested positive. If they test positive at the homestay family or the ILSC quarantine accommodation on the 10th day of their quarantine, again, ILSC is following all the requirements from the public health authority. So we will inform the public health authority. The public health authority actually they will have the results even before us. They will contact the student and we will follow all the steps that the public health authority requires. Okay. Probably the student will have to stay much longer in quarantine. The student will not be able to leave after 4 days after the end of their quarantine. They will have to stay until they are clear from the COVID-19. Okay.
Perfect. We have questions from Christina from Germany. What if a client books an exam preparation course or a specific Greystone course? Will the client be able to start his course online during the quarantine? Or is the quarantine online course always a general English course? I think I can address that.
Yes, you
So
can.
depends on your program. Okay, Christine, if you are joining for a Greystone College program, and if you just arrive directly for your intake, you're going to start your Greystone College program online because at this point, Greystone College Canada is doing hybrid studies, which means students are having 2 days per week in person in class studies and 3 times per week online studies. And students can join Greystone College classes through their quarantine period as well. However, if a student wants to arrive in Canada 2 weeks prior your Greystone College intake, you are more than welcome. And in this case, you are able to join our free online English classes from ILSC Canada Online to help you to adapt and to experience your self-isolation in that sense. So it's up to you. Regarding the other question, if it is a specific exam preparation course, it depends on how he has been delivering. If he has been delivering on online as well, it is okay. You can start your program online and then continue in class, or you will do the free online English classes first and then move to your program later, okay? Another questions. This one is regarding minor, which we address. This is different. If I book your accommodation package and by the time I travel, that COVID policy is over, will I get a full refund? This is important one. As ILSC, we are recommending students to only book and request your quarantine package if first your study permit is approved and your flight is also confirmed. So then only at that moment you will require for us to be able to book your quarantine package, right, Carol?
Correct, correct. So as soon as you have all your documentation, we are more than happy to help you with all the process of quarantine. I cannot guarantee September it's gonna be with the measure. We don't know, but again, we are following up all the time to date with all the news, okay? But as Flavia mentioned, closer to your arrival date, we are more than happy to check this for you, and especially after you have all your documentation.
That's true. And this also already answers Christian's questions. Do you know until this date is expected to end? Because I plan to travel in September. So at this point, we are only booking the accommodation, the quarantine accommodation for students that are already ready to depart in March and April. If you are planning to travel in September, we are only booking the accommodation for students that are already ready to depart in March and April.
Hi everyone, can you hear me or Flavia?
Hold a little bit. And the question from Vanessa. I'm from Brazil. Carol?
Hello, can you hear me now?
Sorry, can you guys hear me? Yeah?
Yes, yes, I think
Okay,
so.
sorry. I think we lost a connection here. Perks of technology, right?
Yes.
So, okay, guys, so let's continue. We're talking about quarantine, okay? So if your intake is later than April, please hold on, be patient, grab a cup of coffee, and you do not need to plan for your quarantine package at this moment, okay?
Exactly.
Let's continue with the questions. We have a lot of questions here.
We
Thank
have
you
a
so
lot
much.
of questions.
Yeah, Vanessa, so she was telling that she has attended Grayson College already, and she's also going to Vancouver with her husband. In this case, can she stay in the same room and your husband with you? Yes, we are welcoming families, especially with kids or your partner, for the quarantine accommodations in hotel. You cannot choose to stay in a homestay. However, you can stay in one of your options for a hotel, right, Carol?
Exactly, absolutely correct.
Okay. Another question. The LSC quarantine package is expensive for me, and compared to other third-party quarantine package, do you have other options? Well, this is important for you to analyze that our package is complete, has everything you need, has all the transportation from the GAA accommodation through your quarantine place, then another transportation from your quarantine accommodation to your permanent accommodation, a SIM card valid for 30 days so you can use the ArriveCan app and put all your daily check-in there, all the meals, everything, our daily follow-up. So it's important when you compare apple to apple. Which service am I actually buying for? So this is the idea. And when you do this comparison, you see that our package is really worth it, okay?
Yes.
Christian, when I end my 3 days at the government hotel, I plan to follow up my quarantine at my cousin home in Montreal. Is that allowed? Sorry, it's not. As
Unfortunately, no.
Carolina explained, it is not possible because when we got the approval for the government to welcome our students in Canada, we are being responsible by the government that our students will fulfill our quarantine either in our quarantine accommodation or in our third party authorized partners. Okay, so that is important for you to know. And I'm sorry, I don't speak Spanish. So if you can
Anna,
tell, if you can tell in English, I really appreciate. But I believe
I think
you're
we just have a
saying something about the cost, right? In our website, ilsc.com, please check for all our quarantine packages and all information regarding the amounts, the guideline, the procedures. And we are also more than welcome to provide assistance through one email that Carolina will provide here at the chat. Carol, if you can share our email, I will
absolutely.
be reading the other questions. Eduardo, what if you already have the COVID vaccine? Well, that would be amazing, right? But as far as we know, the government has not announced yet any protocol, any different protocol regarding if a student has been vaccinated or not. What we expect is that in a few months, when the world is vaccinated, and we are praying for that, protocols should change. But however, as Carolina said, what we have for now is this protocol. As soon as something change or anything, any adjustment is required, we're always letting you guys know. Okay.
Exactly.
I have a remote job. Would like to travel and study English with you, but I'm interested in part-time afternoon course, which will allow me to comply with my daily working hour. Is that course available? Yes. Please contact ILSC through an agent partner or through our website. You can access all our schedules. Okay, we offer part-time schedules. We offer full-time morning schedule in Canada, full-time afternoon schedule as well. So we can accommodate your need for sure. Uh, Hello, Diana. Thank you for joining us. Patricia, if I start classes in Grayston College in May, how soon do I have to book with ILSC accommodation? So this you need to stay a little longer. Just wait a little longer. If your study permit it is approved, if your flight is confirmed, please wait another few weeks to make sure that all the protocols will be still valid. And as Carolina said, if the prices for quarantine accommodation will be valid, because as of for now, all the accommodation prices are valid and expires by April 30, right, Carol?
Correct, correct. Again, we are in close contact, and as soon as we have more information, we will definitely share with you. But so far, April 30th. Okay.
True.
Guys, I don't think we're gonna have time to answer all the personal questions, but I did share on the chat with you the contact information. So please feel free to contact us, and we can answer the personal questions as well. Okay.
That's true. And we'd like to thank you all from people from all over the world attending our series, our ILSC Talks, which is the first session of a series of one online webinars. We're going to bring very important topics to you guys. So stay tuned because pretty much every Thursday we'll be running these webinars. Also, if you want to receive a copy of this presentation and a copy of this recording, please contact us through this email that Carolina has provided, and we are more than welcome to send it to you, okay? As you know, ILSC has sales managers and representatives in pretty much every country in the world to provide support and everything you need. My name is Flavia. I'm from Brazilian team. Carol is from our accommodation department in Canada, and we would like to welcome you all and thank you for attending our first online webinar. We hope the information provided here is helpful to you. And of course, we're more than happy to welcome you guys in Canada already. And stay tuned because whenever we have any news, we're going to let you know. Thank you, Carol, for attending these events. It's always a pleasure to connect with you. And I hope to see you soon.
Thank you
Okay,
very much.
let's go to Canada, guys. Bye bye.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you very much all for joining us today. Thank you. Bye. Have a good day.
Bye bye. Have a great day.